Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another formation video where today we're going to be testing out the 4-3-2-1, which was one of my favourite formations pre-patch. I haven't really used it too much in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I have been using some other formations, so I don't know how this formation is going to play. Without further ado, going straight into the video, we've got the goalkeeper. We're going to be checking out the instructions first. Now, I've got him on comes for crosses and sweeper keeper. Now, the thing is for me, I use this combination of comes for crosses and sweeper keeper on every formation, regardless of the formation. I just think it's the best way to play on a goalkeeper. I just think sweeper keeper especially in a lot of times when people play sort of lob through balls over the top of your defence, you'll find your keeper does come out and just smash it out for a throw in into the crowd, and sometimes it can just stop a couple of attacks. So it's something that's really important. Now going into the fullbacks. Now for me personally, stay back while attacking is the only option on this formation, because this formation, from what I experienced defensively, is a really poor formation. Now it was never a good formation in the first place, but now especially it just seems to not be it seems to be even worse, if that was even possible. It's not a great defensive formation, so defending stay back while attacking is an absolute must, and overlap of course is something that I personally always use, but stay back while attacking is a must. So now going into a couple of examples showing why you need stay back while attacking. This is a prime example. You can see on this example, our back four is not in a bad position. We've got Blanc, we have got Militao and Carlos. That's not necessarily a bad position for Carlos to be in. But the problem with this formation, why defensively it has problems, is because it has a left and right forward rather than a left and right mid. If you use a 4-2-3-1 like in the last video, obviously you have a left midfielder or a left attacking midfielder. And normally about where we've marked is about where they would slide in, so they're right in front of the player. Now because there is no left player out there, left midfielder, left cam, there's no one to attack the fullback that's getting forward. So to do that, we actually end up pulling Carlos forward, which means the winger on his side has now got a free run in behind. And you can see he runs on in behind with no problem, and this is a problem that happened a lot because there's obviously no cover in front of the fullbacks. This happens a lot. Unfortunately, it doesn't result in a goal. And same again happens in the exact same part of the pitch. This time around, again, there's no left midfielder again. This time Carlos is in a much worse position, much higher up. This is something to do with positioning, but again, the same problem. There's no left mid, no left attacking mid, or even a left winger to be able to put on comeback on defence and get in front there. So therefore Carlos is left 2-on-1, especially on a fullback, can just play an easy ball in behind. And because it's such a narrow formation, that attacking down the wings is the best way to attack this formation, because there's no protection, as I said. And then Carlos, obviously, you can see. And then you can see the same thing happens again, just an easy ball in behind. Again, it doesn't actually come to anything, but it's just a constant thing that eventually you are going to get caught out. So now moving on to the midfielder. Now, firstly, this central midfielder, the central of the three. Now, this is kind of the pivot midfielder, because I actually tried two things here. I actually tried playing this midfielder as Neymar, as more of a cam, so it was almost like a 4-3-3 attack, but instead of wingers we have narrow forwards. I tried that, it was terrible, so I definitely wouldn't recommend doing that. I ended up settling on this, which was drop between defenders, stay on edge of the box, cover centre, and stick on position and normal interceptions. Now the reason why I stuck on this was because, as I said, defending in this formation is really difficult. So rather than having the extra player going forwards, being that this guy would be on get forward, I decided to have him on drop between defenders, which we have used plenty of times on this channel, and it's been really effective. And this was the only way. I think this is the only way that will make the formation better defensively, because other than that, if you don't use this tactic, you've just got no cover in defence. You've got no one to intercept passes because you've got such a flat midfield. They don't get forward, they don't defend, they're just kind of always stuck in the middle. So I think having a drop between defenders is really paramount, and it definitely made this formation a lot better defensively. You can see a nice example here of Petit, who is in that position, in that pivot midfield position. You can see he is man marking, I think that's Mbappe, I think he's man marking. You can see he's man marking Mbappe right in the lane. Militao is then able to drop off, and Petit is able to make the interception, you'll see in a minute. But this pivot midfield is so important. If you don't have this guy on drop between defenders, or at least stay back while attacking, you're going to find that you're just going to be so open in the midfield, and defending is going to be impossible, because you're going to have to be pulling your centre backs all over the place to try, and it's just such a risky way of defending, and it's never going to end well. And you can see that Petit does intercept the ball perfectly, and that's really the key. I think with this formation, again, you can see this time around with using Alan, which is one of the outside centre midfielders. We'll get to the instructions in a second. You have to be really aggressive, I think, with defending with this formation. I don't think you can be conservative, because you don't have a massive amount of defending players in the first place. You have to be quite aggressive. You can see this time around we're really aggressive with Alan. We go in Sane and we get the ball and we're just really aggressive and offensive. But also we need to get the midfielders involved in the attack. And again, Crespo working really nicely. Great little 1-2 pass here with Alan, and Alan's then able to run into that space and finish it off, and it's a great finish there by Alan. And then again on the left hand side this time around with Neymar. Obviously Neymar is a great player and we're playing him in the midfield, which is not the best position for him, but again he links up really well with Crespo, makes the run beyond into that space which has just been exploited by Crespo, and then he finishes it off. Of course he does. So with those two out midfielders, the two central midfielders that we used, I used on balanced attack. Now if we, in this position we have someone like Neymar, we could have used get forward. I didn't want to because I wanted to keep the balance in the position, but because it was Neymar, I could have used get forward. But if you've got two balanced midfielders, then using balanced attack is the way to go, and get into the box for me is the best way to go. I always like using get into the box. I like having the box quite full of players because I think especially if you get lucky bounces, if you get rebounds, it's always good to have an extra player in there that maybe can take a snapshot and finish it. So I found that using the two outside mids on balanced attack really got the best out of this formation. And then moving on to the three strikers, I guess you could call them. I don't really like to think of them as left and right forwards. I think they play as really good strikers. I found that they're interchanged really well, even though there's no instruction to make them interchange. I found they interchanged really well. Sometimes Crespo's on the left and Mbappe's through the middle. Sometimes Mbappe's on the right, Messi was through the middle, and they interchanged really, really well. But in terms of the wide players, I had them on getting behind. Other than that, I kept them exactly the same. I think balanced width is necessary because you do need to have a little bit of width in your attack. You don't want everything to become too narrow. Sometimes I did go on stay central. I tried it out with the wide players, and I found that everybody was just too narrow. You just couldn't get anything, especially with the midfielders, the strikers. You had no width in your team, so it was so easy to predict how you were going to play, and just everything became too compact in the midfield and in the box, and you just couldn't get any balls forward. And in terms of Crespo, because we had the two wide players on balanced width, so sometimes they would drift wide, we then decided to keep Crespo on stay central, and that worked extremely well. And I see a couple of really good examples here of the three strikers linking up really well. This time the ball gets played into Crespo. He's able to then just tap it off to Mbappe, who's making a great run in behind. And this is what's really key with this formation, and especially with the three strikers. They're able to link up extremely well because they're all really narrow and really close together. It's really easy to be able to play little 1-2 passes, and again you'll see this time around Mbappe is playing it into Crespo. Because they're all so close together, whether it's Mbappe and Crespo, or whether it's Crespo and Messi, or even Crespo linking up with Neymar, as we've already seen, they're all in the attack. This formations, they're all really close together, all the players. So you find that intricate passing is really good, and you're able to create so many chances. That was the thing about this formation. I was able to create so many chances with this formation. It's still an extremely good attacking formation, and that's all because of these three narrow strikers we've got. So then moving on into the tactics, these are the tactics that I used and settled on. They were good tactics. As I said, I don't really change the tactics too much. I kind of keep them muchness. The only thing I found with this formation is you get attacked down the wings a lot, and that is obviously due to the fact that you do have left and right forwards rather than wingers or wide midfielders. So you could decide to go like really wide on the defensive, but I think that's just going to make it really open in the midfield, and we already have a few midfield problems as we've alluded to because we don't have any natural CDMs. In the midfield, you often find that you can be a little bit empty, especially in attack. So for me personally, I found 6 was a good balance. I didn't get too exposed on the wings. I did every now and again, as you've seen in a few examples, but it didn't happen too often. And the rest of these tactics, as I've said, I pretty much keep standard for most formations. I don't think the tactics are super important this year in FIFA. So that is it for the 4-3-2-1. Now overall, I think it is a good formation still. I think defensively it feels like it's got worse, but offensively I feel like it's got better. So I kind of feel like it stayed the same. Before I found that offensively it was good and defensively it was good. Now I feel like defensively it's quite poor, but offensively it's incredibly good. So it depends how you want to play. If you're a really good attacker, I would recommend this formation because you're just gonna have games that finish like 7-5. If you don't think you're a very good attacker and you don't think that you're a great player, I probably would say steer clear of this formation because you're going to find that a lot of the time you do get opened up in defence, but you do get a lot of chances. So if you're someone that's maybe not a great player, I wouldn't recommend this formation. But that is it for the 4-3-2-1. So if you want to see any more formations, as I know you guys do, let me know in the comments which formations you'd like to see. Make sure you drop a thumbs up if you find it useful, and hit that subscribe button as well if you are new to the channel. That's all today, guys. Have an awesome day. I'm out.